Everyone grumbles about taxes: income tax, sales tax, property tax. Boring but unavoidable. But history is full of taxes so strange they make today's bills look tame. From paying to keep your beard, to coughing up money for your windows, to a levy on actual urine, here are 10 of the weirdest taxes ever invented. The beard tax. In 1698, Tsar Peter the Great wanted to drag Russia into the modern, clean-shaven fashions of Western Europe. His solution? A beard tax. Men who wanted to keep their whiskers had to pay up and carry a little token as proof. These weren't just scraps of paper. They were copper or bronze coins stamped with the image of a beard and an imperial eagle. If you refused to pay, guards might shave you on the spot. The tax lingered in various forms until 1772, long after Peter's reign, a steady reminder of how much control the state had over a man's face. The Hearth tax. In 1662, under Charles II, England and Wales introduced the Hearth tax. Every fireplace was taxable, with inspectors roaming towns to count chimneys. People hated it, not just because it cost money, but because it meant officials poking into private homes. Some landlords even blocked up chimneys or demolished hearths before inspections. After just 27 years of resentment, the hearth tax was abolished in 1689, following the Glorious Revolution. The urine tax. In the 1st century CE, Emperor Vespasian of Rome introduced the vectigal urinae, the urine tax. Tammers and launderers collected urine for its ammonia, which was great for cleaning and dyeing cloth. Workers called fullers literally stomped on clothing in vats of urine to get it clean. Vespasian taxed the trade. When his son Titus complained, he held up a coin and asked, "Does it smell?" "No," said Titus, "yet it comes from urine," his father replied, and that's where we get the phrase, "money doesn't stink." The brick tax. In 1784, after the costly American War of Independence, Britain slapped a duty on every brick made. Builders, being clever, just made bigger bricks to use fewer per house. The government caught on and set a size limit, which only made architecture stranger. Some masons even created decorative plaque bricks stamped with dates or names to skirt the law. Oversized patchwork brickwork from the era can still be spotted today, relics of a tax that reshaped the look of Georgian and early Victorian homes until it was repealed in 1850. The window tax. In 1696, Britain introduced a tax on windows, hoping to replace hearth taxes with something harder to dodge. Houses were taxed by how many panes of glass they had. The result? People literally bricked up their windows to avoid paying. Walk through old English towns today and you'll still see houses with awkward patches of brick where sunlight should be. Critics even nicknamed it daylight robbery. Health reformers despised it, arguing that darker, airless homes made disease worse, but the Treasury collected happily until the levy was finally abolished in 1851. The glass tax. In 1746, Parliament imposed a duty on every pound of glass manufactured. Poorer households coped with tiny, dark windows, while the wealthy flaunted huge panes as a status symbol. The tax didn't just affect homes, it distorted the industry. Manufacturers cut corners on quality, experimented with odd shapes, or moved production abroad. For almost a century, until repeal in 1845, Britain literally lived in the shadows of its own glass tax. The dice tax. Even fun came at a price. In 1712, Britain began taxing playing cards and dice, with each pack carrying an official stamp. Counterfeiting became common, and offenders faced harsh penalties. The levy lingered, in one form or another, for nearly 250 years, until it was finally abolished in 1960. The irony? A tax meant to control gambling turned games of chance into a game of cat and mouse between smugglers and taxmen. The salt tax. Salt might not sound glamorous, but in imperial China it was big money. As early as the 7th century BCE, the state monopolized salt production and distribution, turning it into one of the empire's main sources of revenue. Whole bureaucracies grew up around it, with salt merchants wielding immense power. Wars were fought, rebellions funded, and dynasties bankrolled, all on the back of a seasoning we sprinkle without a thought today. And China wasn't alone. In France, the hated gabelle, or salt tax, was so resented it helped spark anger, leading into the French Revolution. In China, though, the monopoly lasted for over 2,000 years, only ending in the 20th century. One of history's longest-running taxes, all built on something as small as a pinch of salt. The soap tax. In 1712, Parliament taxed soap, a levy that fell hardest on the poor. Critics called it a tax on cleanliness that discouraged hygiene in crowded cities. Doctors argued it spread disease by making soap less affordable. Smuggling became a problem too, with untaxed soap sold under the counter. After more than 140 years of complaints, reformers finally won. The soap tax was abolished in 1853. By then, cholera and filth had cost more than the revenue was ever worth. The tampon tax. Not all weird taxes are ancient history. From the 1970s onward, menstrual products in many countries were classified as luxury goods, meaning they carried sales tax while essentials like bread or medicine did not. Campaigners fought for decades to have the so-called tampon tax scrapped. Scotland led the way in 2020, becoming the first country in the world to make period products free. Other nations followed suit, though some still lag behind. Proof that strange and unfair taxes aren't just relics of the past. From bricking up your windows to paying for soap or even your bodily fluids, governments have never run out of creative ways to raise money. And the truth is, the pattern hasn't stopped. Taxes on things like plastic bags, sugary drinks, or carbon emissions show that leaders are still experimenting with unusual ways to raise revenue and shape behaviour. So, next time you groan about taxes, remember, at least nobody's charging you for breathing, yet. Which one of these taxes would you have hated the most? Let me know in the comments, and if you enjoyed this, please hit like and subscribe, and check out some of my other strange tales from history.